Hey, it's great to have you here, and we are excited about Compass Bible Institute. CBI is something that we have been praying for and excited about for a long time, and it's all coming to fruition. And I want you to think about church, if you would, for a second, and Paul makes the analogy of physical training is of little value, but godliness has profit in all things, and yet there's a parallel there, and he talks about that. There's a great Greek word, agonizomai, a working, a hard, an agony that sometimes goes into the training. Train yourself for godliness, that passage says. And the church can be seen as walking into a big gym, for instance. And you see all those machines, and you see the weights, and you see all that stuff. And it's like you pay your money, you go in, and it's just a free-for-all. And you see a lot of people in there that just, like me, when they get tired, they stop. And there's a lot of folks that never get healthy at the gym because they're just kind of doing it on their own. And unfortunately, churches like that because I think we do a fairly good job putting resources out there. We've got a good bookstore every week. You can flip the worksheet over and see a list of books that I say, you should read these books. And I get a sermon out there to you that I hope has got some meat on the bone, and you are encouraged to think about it and go to small groups and discuss it. And it's kind of on your own. And when people get tired of doing it because they got a lot of stuff going on in the week, then they're done with it. Well, there are people at the gym I noticed that have those guys with the black shirts that follow them around and yell at them to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, those trainers. And I've watched those people because I don't have a trainer, but as I go to the gym, you see the same people the same time every single day. And I watch people that come in, let's just say soft, and after months with those guys with the black shirts, man, they're getting results that the rest of us aren't getting as we breeze in and out of the gym. Going to CBI is like you're finally taking on a trainer. And now it's not, here's some nice books, be good for you to read, please. Hopefully, when you're investing, you have a little skin in the game, you put some money down, and you say, I'm here to be trained. Then there's, did you read the book? How many of the pages did you read? I'm going to grade you for how you read the book. We're going to test your knowledge based on what you've read. We're going to make sure you can work through these lectures by putting it out through papers that you're writing. I mean, this is the training with someone over your shoulder saying, come on, 5 more reps. Come on, 3 more reps. That changes everything about your spiritual fitness. And what we want spiritual fit Christians for is not just for being fit and looking in the mirror like a lot of these boneheads do at the gym, just staring at their own muscles. Right? There's a job to do. There's some heavy lifting to do in Christianity, and we need trained Christians. And so we want to offer CBI as a place where you're going to get training. And we say training, and that biblical word, that idea of train yourself for God, we want to see that training with the aid of some good, guided teaching, professors, assignments. And so I know it's stepping up, just like some people don't get excited. Wow, I don't want to go to the gym, work so hard. I want someone over my shoulder saying 5 more reps. But man, that's when you get a lot of good results. So we're excited about that. And the big announcement I want to make this morning that's going public this afternoon is that we've hired a master trainer. Some of those guys go around with, those shirts on and they're trainers. Then you get the master trainer. Well, we have hired, and I'm very excited to tell you this, an academic director who comes as a heavyweight theologically. He's been trained in this, his PhD overseas. He's been working in biblical and theological training. And I'm happy to announce for the first time publicly that just this week we have hired Dr. John Goodrich as our academic director at Compass Bible Institute. We're excited to have him on board. He comes with a wealth of experience. I was just out in Chicago with him, meeting with the entire Bible and theology faculty out there, and just seeing John in his element as he's taught there at the Moody Bible Institute, and to watch his role of leadership among those men, and to see a room full of PhDs and people that just are committed to training and getting direction from and input from and counsel from Dr. Goodrich is a wonderful thing. And it's great to have him now working here with us and for us and seeing that this institute become the right kind of school, not just an ivory tower to learn theology, but to train people for godliness, because there's a lot of heavy lifting to do in the church. So there's a lot of good that we're looking to see God do through CBI, and I hope you're here to learn about it, and you can get in at the ground floor, and we can look back, if Christ doesn't come back first, and we can look back at the history of CBI, and maybe you can say, I was there when they served those fluffy eggs for breakfast, and we hadn't even had a class yet, and we were there as we prayed for Compass Bible Institute, and that's what I want to do right now. So let's pray together. God, as we start our morning and think about the details of Compass Bible Institute, get our questions answered, get a lay of the land, and take a look at what all this is. God, I just pray that you would give us faith, ambitious faith, to trust you for good things in the history of this school. God, we want it to be some kind of training center that really works to produce men and women who love the church, who love the people of God, who are honing their skills and sharpening their focus on what they are called to do, that they have the kind of confidence, not in their own achievements, but confidence in their working knowledge of your word that allows them to counsel, allows them to write, allows them to lead, allows them to be influencers in the body of Christ in a way that gives them a confidence that they've done their homework. God, I know we can be and we will be lifelong learners, but I pray as we think about the people that will step up that kind of training to accelerate their knowledge, I just pray that this would be a school that is filled with people that have a heart for the things that you have a heart for, and that knowledge is used in a biblical way. As the Bible says, knowledge, if it's just on its own, it just puffs up, makes people proud. But love, it builds up. And so we need intelligent, gifted people with knowledge who love people and love you and can build up the body of Christ. So God, thank you for the future and the prospects of CBI. We pray for good things to come from it. We commit it and dedicate it to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks, Pastor Mike. Awesome. There are so many exciting things that are happening with CBI. We're going to attempt to cover as many of them as possible before opening it up for some questions. So I'm going to talk just about what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and perhaps answer some of those questions preemptively, but then I want to end with enough time for you to be able to ask any specific questions and then talk to some of the faculty that's going to be roaming around the building afterward, and maybe just see which class might be right for you if you're interested in that kind of thing, or just have a follow-up discussion. So you've got some information on your tables, and I'm going to walk through that in just a second. At a high level, big picture, what are we doing with CBI? Pastor Mike just talked about training. And that in a one-word explanation defines what we're doing with CBI. You can go on our website and you can see a fuller definition that says biblical education designed to equip and prepare and train people for the purpose of service and leadership in the church. That's a fuller way to say what is right on the center of our seal that you've got on your new fancy mugs. Check those out. On the center of the seal, it captures in Ephesians chapter 4:12 what we're all about, to equip the saints for the work of ministry. And so CBI exists to equip people to serve in the church. And we've come a long way over the last year since Pastor Mike talked about CBI and just kind of said this was going to be a thing that we're going to develop and start in the future. As it's taken form, as it's taken shape, I just want to assure you that we're still on track with that original vision of CBI existing to equip people to serve in the church. Maybe you've seen on the website, there's a tagline that it's biblical education by the church and for the church. And that's one of the things that makes us unique. There are a lot of great schools, there are a lot of great academies out there that are teaching the Bible, teaching theology. There's also a lot of great churches that are doing church ministry, and we are attempting to step into both of those arenas and do both things to the best of our ability. And I think that makes us unique here, makes us unique as a school, and it makes our church have a unique feature to it, which is a very cool thing. So, training by the church and for the church. And the end result is we want people to be equipped to serve better in their church, and as we go to plant churches, and that kind of gets into the why are we doing this, which plenty of people have asked over the last year. Why are we doing CBI? And as we continue planting churches we have increasing needs to send people that are prepared and trained to go, and then also to fill those gaps that the people leave behind. There is this built-in need, just by being a church-planting church, for us to be more serious about training and equipping people, because we want to send people off well, and then we want to fill in those empty spaces effectively. And so just in order for us to maintain just our healthy status as a sending church, as a planting church, we need to constantly be equipping people who are going to stay here at Compass and serve and lead in ministries here, and then certainly people who are going to go. And so that's one of the reasons why we're doing Compass Bible Institute. There's this inherent need in our church planting plan. But there's another reason that we've talked about, and that is because we understand our calling as a church to involve reaching, teaching, and training. And we've always done reaching, teaching, and training as a church, but this is a way for us to increase the training efforts that we're doing as a church. And so this is just right in line with our understanding of what we're supposed to be doing as a church. And that's another good reason, I think, for why. And so then you say, all right, we're as a church, we're going to launch this Bible Institute. The question of how do you go about doing that can take a number of different forms. CBI could have taken 100 different shapes. So I want to spell out for you the shape that Compass Bible Institute has taken, and so I want to explain some of the different degree programs and what the substance is that's available to you. And so that's where you can see on your table some of the different degree programs. I'm just going to talk through each one so you can get a sense for how we are pulling off this Bible Institute. The first one you should look at is the small group leader packet, or just the small group leader overview document. The smallest one, it's 15 total units, right? So these are 5 classes that we have said are going to be the most helpful for small group leaders. I think every single class that we're offering at CBI is going to help if you're a small group leader. It's going to help to equip you to lead better, absolutely. But these are the 5 maybe most important classes. And so we've bundled them together and made them in the form of a degree, a certificate that you can complete, you can start, you can finish, and you can have that sense of completion of these 5 core classes. And so each class there is designed to help you to lead small groups better. There's also a biblical counselor course package that you can see right there. Should be next in your packet. This is designed to equip you to do biblical counseling. And it includes ACBC certification, but it is more than ACBC certification. So there are 3 classes in our biblical counselor track that are going to get you from start to finish with ACBC certification. It's going to give you the required training hours that are required at an approved training institute. And then the electives are going to give you deadlines and help to write the essays necessary for ACBC certification. So by the time you're done with all 3 of those classes, the ministry, care, and counseling, and then the 2 electives, you will have done all the work necessary for ACBC certification. But we're saying, to be equipped to do biblical counseling, we also think it would be important for you to take Systematic Theology 1, Systematic Theology 2. We also think it's important for you to take biblical interpretation and understand principles for interpreting the Bible. And then it's also really important for you to take personal spiritual disciplines. And this is going to kind of round out a more complete and equipped package for you, just to be ready to engage with all the different kinds of things that you're going to come across when it comes to biblical counseling. And so that's a package that we've created that's available to you. And this is true of all of the different programs. You don't have to take just the classes that are in that program. You could enroll in the Biblical Counselor Certificate Program, and you could take all of those classes there, and then you could go on and you can take more. And in fact, by taking the Biblical Counselor Certificate Program, you are about halfway through the next program, and that is the Bible core. And so all of those courses that are in the small group leader package and the biblical counselor package, they're also in these bigger, more extensive packages. And so by taking one of these smaller degree programs or certificate programs, you are just getting closer to completing the bigger programs as well. They all build into each other and build off of each other. So the next one for you to look at is the Bible core. So this is the gap year that Pastor Mike talked a lot about when he was kicking things off about a year ago. He talked about the need to train and equip people before they go off to a secular college or before they enter the secular workforce, or just anyone who wants to be that gap man or gap woman who is equipped with fundamentals of the faith. This is the program for you. So it includes some of the classes that we talked about in those other programs, but it also has a lot of apologetics, worldview, foundational sorts of topics that are going to equip you to enter into those secular atmospheres and have a defense, have an explanation for the Bible, what you believe and why you believe it. So that's the Bible core. Next and last, I guess, is the associates in this first group of classes I'm going to talk about. Look at the one that says associates. These are all of our undergraduate classes. So this includes all of the programs that I just described prior to this. It's kind of like a Bible major. If you were to go and major in Bible at a college or university, you're going to take general education, and then you're going to take these kinds of classes, and you're going to come out with a Bible major. And so this is all of the undergraduate classes we provide. At the bottom, there's blanks for electives, because we're going to bring visiting professors onto our campus every semester. There's going to be at least one visiting professor who's going to teach an elective. And so if you were to do this associate's degree in 2 years, you could take one elective each semester, and you could fill out that elective requirement, or you can take this associate's program over the course of 5 years or more. You can go at your own pace, and you can take as many of those classes as you can. And that leads to the continuing education category. Some of you, when you were applying, if you did that, you noticed that there was an option to not select a degree program, but just consider yourself continuing education. If you want to just take classes, or if you just want to take one class, you can do that. And you would just be in our continuing education category. So that means you aren't in any of those programs on your table. You're just picking and choosing classes as you want, and that's perfectly fine. You can tailor your own program and your own approach and take the classes that you're most interested in. So you can take one class a semester. You can take all the classes we offer every semester as your schedule permits, and you can customize these programs as you like. So there's a lot of flexibility, and what we've tried to do is just cast a really wide net and make it so that every single person in the church can benefit from this program here. At the same time, it's really going to focus in on equipping college students to go into a secular school setting. It's also going to equip ministry leaders, biblical counselors, and everything in between. So there is a wide net here, and hopefully you'll see that CBI is going to be a good and appropriate thing for you, regardless of your interests and where you're at. So everything I just described is our undergraduate classes. There's also a graduate branch to CBI that we're really excited about. It's not starting until the fall of 2020, and that is the residency. So there should be another piece of paper on your table that describes the residency. So this is just going to be really distinct from the other classes that I just described. This is seminary level, graduate level classes, and you'll see there 37 units. That's about a third of your MDiv if you were to do an Master's of Divinity degree, and it's the third that is practical Christian ministry. You look at all these different seminaries, and they have a Master's of Divinity that is pretty similar from one to the next. They have a biblical studies section, they have a theology section, they have a practical Christian ministry section. What we've done is we've identified those classes in the practical Christian ministry section of an MDiv, and we've said we think that as a church, we're well suited to teach some of those classes. Pastoral ministry, for example. We want to make the case that a really good context to take a pastoral ministry class in seminary is in the church. Also, preaching and biblical counseling. These are classes that we think the church can and maybe even should teach. Now, there's the remaining 2/3 of an MDiv that you could go and complete elsewhere, but we're saying 1/3 of it we think can happen here, and it can happen really, really well. And so that residency, it's a 2-year program. It's not flexible, like you can take a class here, take a class there, take 1 or take 5. If you're going to be in the residency, you're going to be in it from start to finish with a cohort of people taking the full load every semester. So it's done in 2 years, and it's going to be a very small sample of people. Because one of the really cool things about it is it's going to be there's going to be mentorship all the way through. And so every person who's in the residency is going to get paired up with a supervisor who's a pastor who's actively doing ministry. And this person who's in the residency is going to come alongside the pastor and have assignments that take place in ministry contexts. And there's just going to be a blending of the stuff that they're learning in the classroom and the ministry that pastor is involved in. So we're really limited on the number of residency students we can take based on the number of students each pastor can supervise. So it's going to be a small number, and it's going to be a cohort that goes all the way through. So mentorship, hands-on, a really neat opportunity for people who are interested in getting a Master's of Divinity or pursuing pastoral ministry. So that is a broad overview of all the different programs that we have offered, and feel free to ask questions about those in just a second. But having explained all the different programs, I want to ask Dr. John Goodrich to come up and explain how these are going to be transferable.
Thanks, man. Just a little more about me. I know some of you in the room, but maybe some of you don't know me. I'm homegrown, man. This has been my church for a while. My wife and I were part of the church plant back in 2005, and we were around here serving amongst y'all for a couple of years before I went off and did my academic thing. And so the Lord brought us back last year, and happy to be back with my Compass family. And some of you may know my parents, John and Julie, my brother, Jeremy, and so we're not new to Compass is the point. So having said that, my full-time gig remains at Moody, okay? So we're around here, we live in the area, but I'm going to be on a jet every once in a while, going back to Chicago. I'll be here teaching, doing my administrative thing as the academic director, but also I will remain sort of in the Moody world as well, which I think is only good, actually, for CBI. I think it would be really helpful to continue to have those kind of relationships and sort of a man on the inside going forward. So, but I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the ins and outs of how to take the credits and the courses that you complete here at CBI, and then how to perhaps get credit at accredited institutions if you are interested in perhaps not just taking a one-off course or a handful of courses or doing one of the tracks or programs here, but actually finishing an accredited degree at an accredited institution, whether it's a college or a seminary. I would say there's 4 major things that we should be thinking about when it comes to what institutions look for when they consider whether or not to accept credits from an unaccredited institution. Okay, well, they would love to see that we are accredited, but we're not, and that's okay. It's very easy to exaggerate the importance of accreditation when it comes to our partnerships with like-minded institutions, those who have similar sort of missions and doctrinal commitments as we do. And it's been very cool to see accreditation not get in the way of a lot of the conversations we've had. And so beyond just accreditation status, we need to be mindful of the fact that what most of these institutions are looking for are faculty qualifications. They're looking for the content of the courses, and they're looking for student competency. Okay, so those are sort of the 3 main things that we've had to try to demonstrate to the institutions that we've already started dialoguing with in order to sort of develop these partnerships. And when we think through those items, I'm just excited about the fact that all these other institutions are already recognizing that we check the boxes. All right, when we think about our faculty qualifications, we can send them, the academic credentials of our pastors, and they're blown away. I mean, if we just brag about our pastors for just a minute, which is really fun to do, our pastors are incredibly well trained and have tons of professional experience, and those are some of the things we're looking for. They've got master's degrees out the wazoo. Some of them have doctoral degrees already under their belt. Some of them are in doctoral programs. In our conversations with some of these institutions, they're excited to say, these folks would come and teach for us if they wanted to. So it's been really cool to see how impressed they are with CBI just as we begin the discussion. And some of the institutions that we're looking to partner with, they know our pastors. They're not just faces on a screen or names on a page. Our pastors are taking classes with some of the professors to teach at the institutions that we're looking to partner with, and so we are known to them, and then that's been fun to see sort of the doors come wide open because of that. Beyond that, one of the things to think about is the course content, and thinking through whether or not the courses you're taking here are going to be a good fit for sort of the curriculum that you'll be seeking to complete at like-minded institutions. So if you take courses here at CBI and you want to transfer those to, say, the Biola universities or the Moody Bible Institutes, what we're going to want to demonstrate is that the course content is equivalent to the courses that are being taught at these other institutions. All right, so we're going to want to demonstrate that Old Testament survey here is essentially Old Testament survey at Biola or at Moody or wherever else. The courses here are not going to be a good fit if you want to go take courses at UCLA, and you want to get equivalency for their Bible Lit course or whatever it might be there, because we're just teaching it's apples and oranges, okay? So when we're thinking through transferability, be thinking through like-minded institutions, those who will recognize sort of what we're teaching and sort of the doctrinal commitments that we have and how that might then impact whether or not they recognize and want to validate what we do. Beyond that, though, student competency is going to be huge. All right, that is to say, when you take a course, the ultimate goal is for you to acquire the knowledge and the skills that course sets out to teach you. And so what our partnering institutions want to see from you is that you've passed the tests, right? You've written the papers, and then you can demonstrate to them that you didn't just take a course, but you've done well in a course, well enough to get transfer credit. And different institutions have different requirements. At Moody, all you need to do is get a C or higher, all right? C's get degrees, right, we like to say. So, but I will say, beyond just getting the requisite grades, hold on to your papers that you write, okay? Don't just, turn them in for a grade and then throw them away. Keep your papers. Those will be really helpful in putting together sort of a portfolio that you might then present to another institution if you want to take the courses here, transfer them there in order to get credit. We're also talking with some of these institutions about the sort of exams that they require, and we're going to partner with them by actually making some of their exams our exams, which will then sort of pave the way for them recognizing that, again, student competency has been demonstrated in our own courses. And those are just some of the things to think about when it comes to taking courses at CBI and then wanting to transfer them to other institutions. But the nice thing that we've been able to do so already is to start these conversations with other institutions and get what we call at least the ball rolling for some articulation agreements. Now, an articulation agreement, the nice thing about that is we're doing the work for you. All right, we are talking with the other institutions and coming to an agreement on which courses here at CBI can be taken and then just automatically get credit for at these other universities and seminaries. I've just come back from Chicago. Okay, I was just at Moody the last 3 days. Flew in like at 10 o'clock last night, still kind of tired. But the nice thing is I just got through meeting with some folks at Moody where they have voted and agreed to an articulation agreement with CBI that will allow a year's worth of courses here at CBI to count for a year's worth of courses at Moody. All right, so it was a lot of hard work. We got three weeks of voting, and all of them were unanimous. They are excited about what we're doing here, and they want to partner with us. And so that means if you want to get a 4-year degree at Moody Bible Institute, you can do your first year here at CBI. You'll take 30, the way it'll work with Moody, you'll take 30 credits at CBI and you'll get 29 credits at Moody. And you don't just have to go to Chicago in order to complete that degree. Moody has online programs, all right? And they'll work with that same sort of articulation agreement. We're also talking with Biola, all right? So Mark and I have met with the folks at Biola, some of the highest level administrators there, and they are excited about CBI. And they just are so excited for the vision, again, for the faculty and what we're seeking to do. And we are expecting, maybe within the next month, for an articulation agreement to be finalized with them as well. Now, they're not quite as generous as Moody, okay? But in the sense that what we're looking at with them is 15 credits taken at CBI can count towards 15 credits in the Bible minor at Biola. That's a semester's worth of courses, though, which if you know how much tuition costs at Biola, that's really helpful, all right? But beyond that, they're willing to accept more credits into their Bible major, okay? And so we're looking at the possibility of transferring up to, I think it is 30 credits to Biola if someone wants to do a Bible major at Biola. So we're talking with some other institutions as well. Probably too premature to mention them by name, but hopefully what we'll be able to do is sort of pave the way as an on-ramp to a number of these really excellent universities and seminaries so that if you want to take courses here and want to finish a degree, an accredited degree, get a bachelor's or a master's, well, we can help you do that in a far more affordable way. All right, great.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Goodrich. Yeah, and I want to echo what Pastor Mike said earlier about John Goodrich. It is a huge blessing for us to have him on the team here. Super excited. He is a gifted person. He does a really good job. He's publishing, he's teaching, and he loves the Lord. He loves the church. He loves Compass. It's such a blessing to have you on board. So we're super excited, and it's so cool that we can talk about units that you can take here, transferring to other schools, and that's happening. And of course, if you want to transfer units into a school that is not on our list, you can approach that school, and you would just have to work it out with them on an individual basis. Like he said, we're doing the legwork ahead of time with select schools, but there might be a Bible college we've never heard of on the East Coast that you want to go to, and you can approach them and have a conversation about which classes you've taken here that might transfer there. So a lot of great things. And I liked what he said at the very beginning about just not overestimating the importance of accreditation. We've made the decision at Compass Bible Institute to remain intentionally unaccredited. And we just think that there are certain values in that for us as a church-based Bible institute. We understand our calling to be training people for the purpose of ministry. And we think we can do that really well within our status as a church. And we don't need an accreditation agency to sign off on training people for the purpose of ministry. So we're able to hit that target in and of ourselves. And then at the same time, it hasn't been prohibitive for us to work with these accredited schools and just saying, hey, look, we're a church-based institute. We're not accredited, but we're trying to do a really good job in meeting accreditation standards. And so if you look at our syllabus and you look at our faculty, if you look at the stuff we're doing, hopefully you'll see that you could accept and validate some of the units that students are taking here. And that conversation has gone really well. And so we are remaining intentionally unaccredited, and we're excited about the opportunities that affords to us. And we think it's going to be a really good thing. It allows us to keep costs down, too. We're charging $100 per unit, which is $100 more than we charge for classes that we teach on a Sunday morning or anything like that. But at the same time, it's thousands of dollars less than classes that you might take at a college or a seminary. And so we do think that though it's $100 per unit right now, that is a really affordable option for you. In fact, I checked recently on the tuition costs at some of these schools, and you can go onto their websites and check this for yourself, but Biola is $1,800 per unit. So if you were to take a the 15 units here at CBI and transfer those in to Biola, then that's about $27,000 worth of units that you now have at Biola. That's pretty significant, right? Cedarville, we're in communication with them, don't have anything on paper yet, but they're about $1,037 per unit. And Masters is $930 per unit. Boyce College at Southern Seminary, if you get the SBC discount, it's $419 per unit. If you don't get the SBC discount, it's double that, $838 per unit or something like that. Moody Online could be a great option. I checked, and it looks like it's $350 per unit for their online program. And being able to take 30 units here that transfers there could be a really neat thing. So I do think that in terms of the cost to value, we're doing something really good here at CBI. And of course, there's value outside of the transferability of these classes. We think that these classes are valuable not just because they transfer, but these classes are valuable because it's going to have a direct impact on the health of our church, on the quality of our ministries, on the strength of the church plant teams that go, on the people who stay behind after 50 great families leave our church and go plant a church somewhere else. It's going to have a direct impact on what we're doing here for the kingdom. And so CBI is really valuable in that sense too. And we're just so excited about that. And it's hard to put a dollar amount on that. We're just, it's a privilege for us to participate in what God is doing in the world, advancing his kingdom, moving forward with the call and the commission of the church. And so we get to do that and even just take a formal approach to training and equipping for that here at CBI. So registration, I want to talk just for a second about that. Some of you here in the room are already registered for classes. Some of you have started an application, and some of you are in between those two things. So the way it works to get into these classes is you have to first apply, go onto the CBI website and apply, and your application will be reviewed, and when you get your acceptance letter, at that point, you are eligible to register for classes. And then you can just go in and select which class you want to attend, and you can register at that point, and then you will receive a bill in the mail for that to pay for that later. But I do want to encourage you to complete the steps involved there. We've had a lot of people start an application. We've had less people complete an application. We've had a lot of accepted students, far less accepted students who've been actually enrolled in classes. So, I don't know where you fit on that spectrum, or actually, one step removed from all that, we've had a lot of people who are interested and planning on taking classes verbally who haven't started an application. And so I just want to encourage you, get your questions answered here, and then start that process and have a chance to be in the first inaugural class of CBI. So in just a second, I want to hear what those questions are, and we can kind of get to the real practical issues at hand here. I want to talk just for a second before we do that about the Bruce Ware class, the Trinity elective. As I mentioned, one of the really cool features is we want to bring in visiting professors who are really experts in their field and give them the platform for a weekend. That's going to be an intensive, probably 16 hours of instruction over the course of the weekend. There'll be assignments before, kind of leading up to that class. There will be the intensive weekend, and then there'll probably be some assignments that follow. So you'll probably do a bunch of reading before the intensive weekend. You'll listen to the lectures, and then there'll be some assignments that follow up. And we're in correspondence with Dr. Bruce Ware right now about what that syllabus is going to look like and what the assignments and the readings are. It's going to be an awesome class. And it's going to work really well for people with busy schedules, just to take one weekend and knock out the majority of your seat time. That class we're going to make it available to audit that class. And so pretty soon here, we're going to start making that more publicly known. I think it's on the website already, but not everyone noticed that. We've said for all of these residential classes, there's no auditing. If you're in the class, you're all in, you're doing the assignments, you're getting the grades, to try to just keep a level of excellence and maintain a certain standard in our classes. With the Bruce Ware lecture weekend, that's going to be an exception where if people in the church just want to come and listen to Bruce Ware talk, then bring it on, right? Come and listen. It's going to be 16 hours of gold, and you're going to want to be there for that. So we want to encourage that as much as possible. So there's going to be a sign-up sheet if you want to just listen to his lectures. There will be a church sign-up sheet, just like you would sign up for any other thing at our church. If you want to take the course for credit as an elective or just continuing education for credit at CBI, you're going to have to go through the application process, register for the class, do the assignments, get the grade.